This statement is 100% correct, except for the word the. Yes, a lot of Palestinians are actually descendants of Judeans. This is something that, as a person who deals a lot with Jewish antiquity, I would never deny because I'm not stupid. But I think that a better statement would have been a lot of Palestinians are descendants of Judeans. Because Jewishness is not only if you are or aren't Judean, it's whether or not you're taking part in the tribe. And while genetically, Ashkenazi Jews and Palestinians are very similar, culturally, Palestinians are self-identifying as Arabs, self-identifying as Palestinians, self-identifying a lot of times with Islam and Christianity and not with Judean faith. And being native is never about your genetics, it's about what kind of culture you choose to preserve. If you choose to preserve the imperial culture, then you're part of Arabic imperialism. But on the other hand, if you choose to participate in Jewish life, then you are participating in pre-empire culture, which means that you are participating in indigenous culture. If Palestinians chose one day to connect to their ancestral identity and to re-participate in Jewish life, people like me would more than welcome them to the tribe. I would be thrilled to have my Palestinian siblings rejoin the Judean family. But that's not the case at the moment, which is kind of sad and upsetting. And self-identification is more important than genetics, meaning that if someone doesn't identify themselves with their Judean genetics, then they exclude themselves from the Jewish tribe. So you see where I'm getting at? So yes, Palestinians are actually, a lot of them are Jewish. They're descendant from Judean ancestry. Most of them aren't even willing to acknowledge it. Most of them don't want to take part in Jewish culture. Therefore, they're not the real Jews. Jews are the real Jews. You're welcome.
Oh yeah guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all doing good. Today we're diving into a provocative question. Who are the Black Palestinians? Who are they really? And you know, Chatgpt has claimed to uncover the hidden identity and the big question, are they Jews? So guys, in this video, we'll walk through the history, evidence, contradictions, and contemporary voices to assess whether there is any credible basis for the claim. So guys, this is an exploration, not an accusation. Identities are complex and history is messy. Let's proceed with an open mind and full respect for those whose lives we discuss. So guys, let's get into this clip. I'll be coming back with more commentaries. Stay tuned.
Proven in parts 1 through 4, the Jewish people are in fact Ukrainians from an area formerly called Khazaria, as attested by their own Jewish historians, scholars, and rabbis. The Palestinians, on the other hand, have a different story. Historians state that when Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD, that Rome allowed a small segment of Hebrews to remain, namely servants and farmers, besides the ones captured and the ones who fled into Africa and Arabia. These peoples would eventually incur some mixing with other groups who conquered Palestine, in particular the Ottoman Turks. To this day, the groups of people who occupy Palestine is a combination of the descendants of Ottomans and the original Hebrews, who are labeled as Afro-Palestinians.
The African presence is still visible in Israel today. There are thousands of African Palestinians who live in Israel with deep roots to the land, whose ancestors date back for centuries. I met with Ali Jaddah, tour guide, and the informal mayor of the African Palestinians in Old Jerusalem. I asked him about his life and relations between the Afro-Arabs and the Jews.
Well, life for him, I think it's the hell. I'm one of those people who had experienced that. To be Palestinian, that's a big problem. But to be a black Palestinian, I'm quite convinced it will be the hell, because as a black Palestinian, I am double oppressed by the Israelis.
In what way?
In what way? I will explain. First of all, they oppress me as a Palestinian, you see. Secondly, they oppress me because of my color. Whenever I go around in the Israeli side, they call me Kushi. Kushi means nigger. Kushi means nigger.
So, in Israel, the land of God, people who are the brothers of the Arabs, two brothers, you are called nigger as I am called nigger in America?
Let's say on the surface, this is what they say, that this is the land of God and we are cousins and there should be total equality. But once you come to the practice, when you come on ground, you will find that there is a lot of discrimination and there is a real divorce between what they say and what they exercise.
Blacks and whites who watch the show saying, so why stay? Why stay when you are called nigger every day? Why stay when you are denied your rights?
On the contrary, the more they humiliate me, the more they oppress me, the more I stick to my land. Because this is my land. I'm so rooted. We are deeply rooted as Africans, as Palestinian Africans in this land. And we know pretty well that our ancestors, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years, had been here in this country, but they were spread away, taken to Africa, from Africa to the United States. Our ancestors, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years, had been here in this country, but they were spread away, taken to Africa, from Africa to the United States, 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 from Africa to the United States.
I am Sar Madiel Ben Yehuda. Sar means minister. My title in the community, my role as minister, my portfolio is that of information. I'm charged to collect, to analyze, and then to disseminate information about the Hebrew Israelites here in Israel, about our particular history as a community and our history as a people connecting back to this land. We consider Israel to be Northeast Africa. We are living here in the southern portion of Israel in what is known as the southern Judean mountains. And of course, we have to make this clear that Israel predates any Palestinian connections here to this land. When you look at the name of Palestine, it was the name that the Romans gave to the land formerly known as Judea. Now, I didn't say Jewish or Judaism, but Judea. So the Judeans were the people that actually lived in this portion of this land prior to it being named Palestine by the Romans. So this is what we consider to be Northeast Africa. We are sitting on the African tectonic plate. There are African species of birds and animals and plants that you'll find all throughout this region.
Why I took you here is that I want to show you that the country called Israel is sitting on the African tectonic plate. Now, we're going to go over here and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is Northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai. Okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right? This is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Afrikani, which means that Israel is Northeast Africa.
I want to say I'm sorry that my English is not so good, but I will try, to explain or to to teach the people that don't know that we are here in this land before maybe more in 2,000 of years in this area in Sinai Desert. It's not far from here. It's near the Jordan-Israeli border. There is our land, my grandfather's land. So before the state of Israel, the border of this Israel or Palestine is not in this border today. It's very near. Before it's El Arish in Egypt today. There is the border of the holy land. This is the religion thing. So many people they don't know that the black people here in this land, it's not for the last 100 years or something like this. It's more than 1,000 of years.
from Africa.
He's from Africa.
نحن 10 دورات فوق.
Esther Dorot, 10 generations here.
فوق في إسرائيل. הייתה פלסטין, הייתה לפני הטורקים
Before the Palestinians, before the Turkish Empire, his people was here.
The original people here, it was black. I know about the history of Beni Hilal. I know about the Zir Salem history. Everybody know this. Most of the Bedouin here, most of them they come from the Arab Gulf. They know. They can know they're not original here. They know that we are the original people here in this land.
The Israeli author Shlomo Sand, in his book The Invention of the Jewish People, between the pages of 184 188, he goes into great depth talking about the early Zionist thinkers like Ber Vodakov and even David Ben-Gurion. He quotes David Ben-Gurion and Ben Zvi, Yitzhak Ben Zvi, talking about the fact that the early Judean peasants were actually the foundation of what they encountered when they came into this land. This is a book they wrote 30 years prior to the declaration of Israel's independence, and they recognized that the Fellahim, this peasant class, were actually those that had remained here, that had converted perhaps to Islam, that converted perhaps to Christianity, depending on the ruling class, depending on the armies at the time that held Jerusalem and held this particular region. They simply, in their love for the land and the fact that these armies needed to be fed, they became the peasant class, the agrarian agronomists, the agriculturalists who continued to raise their crops and to take care of their families in a desire to stay on this land.
See, sometimes you just have to hear it from the horse's mouth. As you see, the Afro-Palestinians attest that their people were took down to Africa and sold to America, confirming everything that we've discussed.
Israel or Palestine? What was the land called first? Instead of reading every holy book and history book out there, I just asked Chatgpt. The biblical era, 3,000 years ago. In ancient texts, the land is called Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, promised to the children of Abraham. It's central in the Jewish, Muslims, and Christians books, called the Holy Land, given to the children of Israel. No mention of Palestine as a state. The Roman era, 1,900 years ago. After suppressing the Bar Kokhba revolt, the Roman Emperor Hadrian renamed Judea as Syria Palestina to erase Jewish identity from the land. Palestina was based on the Philistines, an ancient seafaring people, but they were not Arab or Palestinian. The Byzantine era. The name Palestine continued under Byzantine and early Muslim rule as a geographic term, not a sovereign state. The land was part of Greater Syria, Bilad al-Sham. The Ottoman Empire era, 1517-1917. The area was not called Palestine officially, but was part of the Ottoman province of Syria. The British Mandate, 1917-1948. After the First World War, the British used the term Palestine to refer to the territory that includes modern-day Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. Both Jews and Arabs living there were called Palestinians. The Palestine Post was a Jewish newspaper. So don't listen to pro-Israelis or pro-Palestinians. Just ask Chatgpt.
Free Palestine. From Lies. It says if you don't read before you write, The IHRA openly says that denying self-determination is anti-Semitism. So being anti-Zionist is what? Anti-Semitic, exactly. What's that saying? If you tell a lie over and over and over again, you get Palestine. You guys make it too easy. Do better. I'm Yishel Chai. God bless America. Bring them home now.
Yeah, welcome back, truth seekers. We have come to the conclusion of this video. First, let's define Afro-Palestinians. They are also called the Black Palestinians. This is a small marginalized community in the historic Palestine, Jerusalem, Gaza, the West Bank, who trace parts of their lineage to Black African heritage. They speak Arabic, practice Islam and some Christianity, and self-identify primarily as Palestinians. In Jerusalem's old city, there is a traditional African quarter that is inhabited by descendants of pilgrims, guards, or the workers from various parts of Africa who settled centuries and became part of the local society. These communities often face dual pressures: discrimination from Israeli authorities because they are Palestinian, and the internal prejudice within broader Arab Palestinian society because of their skin color. So already their identity is layered and complex. Let's talk about the origin, migration, and the historical background. To assess any claim about a hidden identity, for example, being Jews or tied to the ancient Israel, we need to look at origin stories, documented migration, and historical records. One origin path: many Afro-Palestinians descend from African pilgrims who came for Hajj or Umrah and then stayed or settled in Jerusalem or other holy sites over centuries. Another path: some came as soldiers, servants, or people brought through migration during Ottoman times. Over time, these families intermarried with local Palestinian families, assimilated culturally, and adopted Arabic language and Palestinian identity. There is no credible historical evidence in mainstream scholarship that Afro-Palestinians were originally Jewish or secretly maintained Jewish identity. Most sources treat them as part of the Afro-Arab or Afro-Muslim fabric of the region. That said, in Palestinian poetic and political discourse, blackness has sometimes been used metaphorically. For example, as a symbol of oppression, suffering, or connection to the soil, rather than strictly racial identity. Also, some narratives push theories that all groups in the Levant have ancient ancestral interconnections, Canaanite, Hebrews, and so on and so forth, but those are speculative and not proof of discrete Jewish identity in modern times. Now, let's examine the core claim. Are the Black Palestinians actually Jews, either secretly or by heritage? To evaluate this, we must ask that what would it mean to be Jewish? You know, Jewish identity has religious, ethnic, and cultural dimensions. One can convert to Judaism, belong to Jewish communities, or have genealogical descent, but being ethnically Jewish doesn't always equal being religious or maintaining Jewish practices. We must also ask that, is there evidence among Afro-Palestinians of Jewish practice or lineage? In the research and public records, there is no credible documented case in the Afro-Palestinian community where a group is maintaining a Jewish identity or tradition distinctively. Most are Muslim or Christian, and their communal lives are Palestinian. If there was such a group, we'd expect traces, ritual practices, synagogues, family oral histories, marriage patterns, and many others, but nothing reliable emerges. Then we can ask that, could there have been assimilation or conversion? You know, guys, theoretically, over centuries, groups change religion, identity, and affiliation. It's possible some individuals converted at some time, but that is different from claiming the entire community is secretly Jewish. Then we can ask that, does ChatGPT's claim hold up under scrutiny? if ChatGPT asserts that Afro-Palestinians are Jews in secret, it needs strong evidence, but so far, public and academic sources do not support that. Without genetic, archival, or oral historical backing, the claim is speculative at best. In summary, the weight of evidence does not support the claim that Black Palestinians are Jews in any hidden sense. Their documented identity is Palestinian with African heritage, not Jewish lineage. So why might the exposed identity narrative arise? We should also ask, why does such a narrative get traction? We can say, sensationalism. We can talk about, ChatGPT exposed the real identity, grabs attention, but it may overstate or distort what the evidence supports. And, we have also identity politics and erasure. In conflicts, some narratives aim to delegitimize one group by claiming they are imposters. Claiming a Palestinian group is really Jewish could be used to deny their rights or authenticity. Then we have misinterpretation of genetic or historical claims. Some people misuse genetic studies of Levantine populations to make sweeping claims, but genetics is complex and does not map neatly onto modern religious or national identity. We can also talk of lack of knowledge about Afro-Palestinians because they are a small, marginalized community. Many people are unfamiliar with them. That gap allows myths to proliferate. Given this, it's critical to rely on evidence, respectful investigation, and giving voice to the people themselves, not imposing identity from the outside. Then we have voices from Afro-Palestinians and lived experiences. While I was perusing through the social media, to balance the discussion, let's hear, I just had and gotten a lot of comments from the Afro-Palestinians. There are comments from the Moza Coast director of the African Community Society in Jerusalem, describing how his community faces racism from the Israeli communities. Then also there was Shaden, a young Afro-Palestinian law student who was recounting how from a young age she was reminded she was different because of color, even from within her own community. In Jerusalem's African Quarter, many families have deep roots over generations embedded in Palestinian social life. So these lived experiences, these lived identities emphasize that Afro-Palestinians see themselves as Palestinians first, not as hidden Jews. Their struggles include recognition, equality, and dignity, not secret identity claims. So we have counter-arguments and strongest claims to consider. So for fairness, let's consider counter-arguments, the strongest claims people might take. Like some might point to genetic overlap between Hebrew, Aramaic, Canaanite, and other Lebanite people, suggesting shared ancestry across Jews and Palestinians. That's true to some extent historically, but it does not translate to a hidden Jewish religious identity. There could be isolated lineages that have Jewish ancestry via intermarriage or conversion in centuries past, but that is different from the whole community being Jewish. Some may cite ancient migration theories of mystical ideas of lost tribes, but these are speculative and not grounded in robust historical or archaeological consensus. So the key is exceptions do not prove the rule. Even if a handful of families had some Jewish ancestry, the community as a whole cannot reclassify as Jewish based on that. So what's our verdict? Afro-Palestinians are a distinct community with African heritage, assimilated into Palestinian society, speaking Arabic, identifying as Palestinians, predominantly Muslim or Christian. So there is no credible public evidence that they are secret Jews or retain a Jewish identity in any meaningful sense. The claim that ChatGPT may expose their real identity is based on what we see a sensational or misleading framing not grounded in historical facts. Understanding identity is not about exposing but about listening to community voices, historical records, and lived experiences. So guys, if you are interested, I can encourage you to look into more academic scholarship on Afro-Palestinians, interview voices from the community, and explore how race, identity, and political overlap in the Middle East. So guys, if you found this analysis useful, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep exploring the truth carefully, respectfully, and fearlessly. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of this video, and this video is meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well. Thank you so much. Peace be with you. Until the next one, guys.